what others are feeling. So I like those review cards a lot because it puts it all in one place.
It covers it. Yeah. And especially the last one. What we're giving them by teaching them how to express their feelings, we're giving them these quintessential tools for when they go out into the real world. If a child doesn't know what his feelings are, he doesn't know what to ask for. How to fix it. If something's broken, how would you, and if he doesn't say, this makes me feel bad. So the way to feeling better is if I fix this or that. And it gives them the tools of self-sufficiency.
Right.
And boy, if you have a child who's independent and self-sufficient, I don't know what, of course there's certain character and personality development attributes you want them to have, like forgiveness and patience with people and spirituality. But those all come from that basic EQ. Okay. That's where it starts.
All right, so let's go. We have our final question here.
Are there any social and independent blocks or institutional blocks?
So let me see. So I'll cut this part out. It says, are there some social and
institutional
blocks to man being able to teach? Okay,
the language of emotions.
Okay, wait, hold on. So let me read it. Okay, so then the final question. Are there some social and institutional blocks to man being able to teach the language of emotion?
Yes, there are. I think the institutional blocks are whether it's the media and the way that men are portrayed is very important, whether it's movies, advertisements, magazines, that they're kind of not even included in this picture. And when they are, I mean, we're always the heavies. I mean, men make a wonderful assortment of serial killers and rapists, murderers, pedophiles, gamblers. I mean, the whole spectrum of pathology is in the media. And like, so is there anything there about, what do you see about a stand-up guy, who takes care of his kids? I only saw one show. It's called Full House. Do you remember that? His wife died and he's left with 3 daughters. Right. Absolutely sensational show that I think all fathers should have an opportunity to watch. Right. And it ran for 8 seasons, so somebody must have been very interested in this.
I think things are changing a little bit. I noticed a couple of movies that are coming out. Don't ask me the names of them, but there's this one where I think he's an astronaut or something. He's going into space and he has a daughter, and so there's a really cool father-daughter relationship thing going on. And so I guess maybe little by little things are going to begin to change. In the way that the fathers are portrayed.
And then, on the interpersonal level, I think, how many fathers were there, back in the older generation, just before me, and, in many cases, including my generation, where, I remember an experience that I had in grammar school when the first time I got slapped by a nun. Oh. And I remember the kid sitting next to me, he was my best friend. Yeah. And he said to me, "Don't cry. Don't you cry." Well, and he's already learned the language of pseudo-masculinity. Yeah. Be tough, and like I had all to do to contain my emotions because I took like a good beating. But cry, no, that's not part of the vocabulary. It's not part of your young masculinity, and it gets worse later.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned being hit by someone other than your father or mother, right? Because then if you haven't been taught emotional intelligence well enough, if you haven't been taught how to express yourself, if something does happen to you outside of the home, you are unlikely going to share this.
Okay, and here's the worst part of that is if you're unlikely to talk about your feelings, particularly frustration and anger, you bury it. It goes down inside into your unconscious, and it doesn't just go away. It's not spiritually removed from you. It's laying around festering there, and at some point, it's going to explode. Right. and it's going to be directed towards an inappropriate target. And this person is going to say, "Hey, what are you taking? What's the matter? What are you getting angry with me for? I didn't say anything." And it's all because you didn't say it to the right person.
It makes me think of an example. You can correct me if I'm wrong. So then, for instance, if you as a child expected your mother to ask you what was wrong and she didn't later on in your own relationships, you might be thinking that your girlfriend or your wife.
Exactly. Like they could read your mind. Like, no, right. It's like, like I'm just supposed to know if I'm unhappy because my mom didn't ask me or my dad didn't ask me. Like I'm thinking, well, either there's two ways you could go with it. They don't care. I mean, or they're just too busy, or they're not important. That's the and they don't want to hear, but you'll get over it. Hey, how many dads say, hey, don't cry or I'll give you something to cry about? Have you heard that one? That's a good one.
That's a good
one. A favorite. Yeah.
I don't think I've,
you don't know that one?
I don't think I've used that one.
Yeah. You don't think you've used it? You didn't hear it?
Yeah. No, I didn't get that. I didn't get that. My mother never said that. But
it's the discouragement of acting in a way that they can't deal with, and maybe we're overestimating. There's a great many mothers who do not have the skills to deal with emotion. I don't mean to put them on a pedestal and guys down at the bottom. It's someplace.
But I do have a perfect example of a mother that is not very good at it, and that is a mother that is a single mother with too many children and too many responsibilities, and just simply does not have the time.
Absolutely.
To ask you what is wrong.
Right.
Because there's 4 children, 6 children, and you because you're upset, you're actually cool. You're not the troubled child, right? So one of the other children is acting up, and he or she is the one that's getting all the attention.
The squeaky wheel theory.
Yeah, the squeaky wheel. And here you are. You're not being cool.
Seething, right? You're being cool, and you're seething inside, but you're zipping it up, and So what happens is when they go out, and they're unable to explain, it creates a breakdown in communication. When you can't talk about your feelings, talking about your feelings is like one of the basic ingredients of a healthy marriage. Because when you stop talking and the communication is broken, that sense of trust, the willingness to be vulnerable, those things gradually evaporate, and those are the cornerstones of a healthy marriage.
Right. So, often what'll happen with my kids is when they're upset, maybe they fell or something other than that, and I'll notice that there's something wrong, and I'll bring them over, I'll hug them, I'll hold them, and I will ask them. I say, what's wrong? Do you want to talk about it? And very often they'll say no, but they'll spend 3-5 minutes in my arms.
Okay,
and
that's good. Yeah.
And then they go their way happy.
Okay.
Or at least it seems to have been resolved.
Okay. You can't, depending on the age, I know your kids are 7 and 6, right? Okay. Sometimes you got to get a little bit pushy, but not too pushy. You got to say, well, I mean, you can't if they're unwilling to talk, to initiate what's wrong, sometimes you have to provide the words. Like say, I guess you're really upset because such and such happened, and I understand that. Yeah. And because you're demonstrating verbal empathy. And they may say, yeah, sort of. And they some of them like to talk and some of them don't, but if you indicate to them that you understand why they're feeling what they're feeling, you're off to a good start with them. And later on, they'll get the confidence to come to you and put it into their own words.
Right. Okay, so let's go ahead and review this last bit of information that we've been talking about. We have that dads and moms should learn how to teach the skill of communicating emotions. And then also redefinition of masculinity should include emotion as essential. And then finally, results in child development will be apparent very quickly. Okay, so that's pretty much it, Charles. We went through, that's an entire workshop, 30 minutes gone.
Yeah, right.
Gone. All right, well, thank you so much, everybody, for watching this workshop. We